Hello! So, today I thought I'd do a quick video. Well, it's probably not going to be that quick, to be honest. But I thought I would do a video showing you which add-ons I use in the Elder Scrolls Online. Now, I'm not an expert on add-ons by any means, but these are the ones I happen to be using right now and that work well for me. It's not going to be a tutorial either. I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail on each add-on. You can find other videos on YouTube that go into more depth on these, I'm sure. But I'll give you a quick overview just so you can see what they do and decide whether or not you might want to try them out. Now, if you've never used add-ons in ESO before, I get mine from a website called esoui.com. And if you go onto that website, you can download an add-on manager called Minion. This makes it really easy to install the add-ons. You can do everything within the client. You can search for which add-ons you want, or just browse through the categories and the most popular ones. And it's pretty much just click of a button and you're off. So I'd recommend doing that if you want to try out any of these add-ons. Alright, so the first one we've got is Advanced Filters. And what this does, let me just show you. What this does, if I go into my inventory, it just adds some extra categories down here. So if I click on weapons, I can choose between one-handed, two-handed, bow, destruction staff, and healing staff. And there are categories for each one, so I've got jewelry there. Miscellaneous, so I can choose glyphs, soul gems, siege items. I don't have any of those right now. Bait, they're all in my craft bag because I've got ESO+. But yeah, you get the idea. It just makes sorting through your inventory a little bit easier. The next one we've got is Awesome Guild Store. So what this does, if I just talk to this guild trader here, skips the dialogue. I'll just close this for now. So it adds a bunch of new options that make searching guild stores a lot easier. So you choose the category up here. So if I want to search for a weapon, choose that. Maybe I want to look for a destruction staff. And then you can choose the quality of the weapon. So if I'm only interested in purple or gold ones, I can choose that. You can just move this slider along. You can choose the price range you're looking for, the level range. If you're looking for a particular trait, you just choose that down here. Weapon enchantment, you just choose that down there. Which type of staff you're looking for. So maybe I only want an Inferno staff. You can see I used this text filter earlier because I was looking for a particular motif. So just say maybe I want to look for let's look for an Elfbane staff. They're all the rage at the minute. An Elfbane flame staff. Any enchantment, any trait. I don't know if there's actually going to be anything. If you're looking for a particular set, you can check that. And whether or not it's a crafted set or a dropped set. And deal range. I never really use this. I just try and decide that for myself. But yeah, so then we'll start search. Well, there's nothing. But yeah, you get the idea. So it just allows you to be a bit more specific when you're searching through guild stores. Adds a lot more filters. It just saves you having to browse through a massive long list for ages. So it's very useful indeed. Next, we've got Bug Eater. Now what this does, occasionally, especially if you use add-ons and they're out of date, as you can see many of these are, occasionally you'll get an error message that pops up on the screen, and it's a massive window, and if it happens when you're in the middle of a dungeon or a trial or something, it's a huge pain in the ass. You've got to stop and close the window. So what Bug Eater does is it gets rid of that window and it just posts the error in chat instead. So it's much less obtrusive and it doesn't get you killed. So it's very handy. The next one is combat metrics. Now, what this does is it shows you lots of information when you've been in combat, all the stats. It'll show you uptime on enchantments and procs, which skills did the most DPS, and so on. So I'll just attack this target dummy behind me, and I will show you. So I'll run away so the fight ends. Okay, so I can bring up this summary window after a fight. I've got it set to a hotkey, and it shows you a ton of information. You can see on the right I've got all my buffs. Then down at the bottom it shows you which skills did the most damage. You can see my Flame Lash did the most there. Even though it was only a few seconds. It shows you my DPS, which was shit because I just hit the skeleton a few times and ran away. But you get the idea. Now, I don't use this all the time, but if you're practicing to get your DPS higher, or if you're testing out new skills, if you're changing up a build, it's very useful indeed. Okay, so the next one we've got is Craft Store. Now this is a brilliant add-on and it does a lot, so let me just show you. If I click on this icon in the top right here, it brings up this window. Now you can see all of the traits that I've been researching. This is my main crafting character, so you can see that I've got 9 traits on all clothing, blacksmithing and woodworking. And down at the bottom here, you can see I'm working on my jewelry crafting. Over on the right, it shows you all of the items that I'm currently researching. So I've just got this necklace on the go right now. Another really cool feature, if you want to craft any of the sets in the game, but you forget where the crafting stations are, it happens to me all the time, you can go down here and click on this button, and it brings up a list of all the sets you can craft. So you choose whatever set you want. We'll just stick with Seducer for now. And then you can click on one of these buttons and it will port you to the nearest way shrine. It still costs you gold, but so I can either go to the one in Deshan, Gratwood or Stormhaven, and then for the DLC ones it's going to be all the same. So that's very handy indeed. That's a big time saver. Then here, if I click on this button, it gives me a brief summary of all my characters, so I can see what each character is researching. If I look up here, I can see their progress for mount skills. I can see how many sky shards I've got. So lots of info there. You can just look at all your characters at a glance. Then down at the bottom here, we've got these buttons. So this one shows me which motifs that I've researched. So you can see I've got all of the basic racial ones. I've got a few on Order of the Hour here. So yeah, you can just scroll through this list and see what progress you're making when it comes to learning motifs. Then here, you can see all of the furniture that I can craft. So if I uncheck this box, it'll show me everything. And then if I check it, it'll just show me the ones that I can make. So you can go through the categories. It's all the clothing ones, enchanting, and so on. Then you've got a similar thing with the recipes here. I don't really do any crafting on this character. Okay, we've got a couple of recipes there, I know. And then this one is very handy indeed. Let me just go downstairs to my Enchanting Station and I'll show you what that one does. Okay. So you can see, if I use the Enchanting Station, the UI has changed. So this is the craft store one. So, again, I don't do enchanting on this character, so there's a lot of stuff I can't make. That's why all this is red. But if I just choose a basic one with tar, you can choose what level you want to craft and what quality you want to craft. So I'm just going to use a tar rune. And then instead of choosing the individual runes and having to remember which ones you need, you can just go down this list and select whatever enchantment you want to make. So just say I want to make a stamina glyph. I just choose that from the list, click on it, and there you go, done. So that saves you a lot of time remembering which runes you need. Very convenient. Another thing that Craft Store does, if I run back upstairs, it also makes doing writs a little bit more convenient. So if I go to my woodworking station here, you can see at the top it shows me what I need to craft for my writ. So I don't know about you, but I always forget, and then I've got to come back out and then check my journal. So it just makes it slightly more convenient by just telling you what you need to make at the top there. So yeah, brilliant add-on, I highly recommend it. Next up, we've got destinations. Now, what this does, if I bring up my map, I've done quite a lot on this character, but if I go to Malabal Tor, I know I haven't done much there. You can see I've got all these grayed out icons that show me places I haven't been to yet. So if you want to go to a new area and you don't just want a blank map, you want to know where you should be headed, this one is very handy. Now there's another add-on you could use instead of this. So let me just show you that. I'll turn this off and come down here. Where is it? Undiscovered. So I'll turn that on, just reload the UI. Now the thing about destinations is it shows you the icons, so when you're headed somewhere, you know what it is. You know whether it's a way shrine or a town or a boss or whatever. But with Undiscovered, it leaves it as a bit more of a surprise. So if I bring my map up again, and we'll go back to Malabal Tor, you can see instead of the icons, it's got these X's here. So you could use that instead if you don't want to know exactly what you're going to find when you get to a destination, but you want to know where you're headed. You could use that instead. Next up, we've got dressing room. So what this does, I can bring up a window. I've got it set to a hotkey. And what you can do is you can save different skill bars and gear sets. So it makes it much quicker if you want to swap between sets. I did have a PvP setup on here, but last time I updated this add-on, it must have deleted all my saved variables, so that's not here now. But you can see here, this is my regular PvE setup. I do change things up a little bit, like I would normally have a rearming trap here, but it's got coagulating blood. I sometimes just stick that on when I'm running around questing solo, just in case I need a bit of healing. And it saves all my gear as well. So what you would do, you would go into your gear, put on whatever gear you want to use, go into your skills, set up whatever skills you want to use. Then you bring up this window and you can shift and click and it'll save what you're wearing. Shift and click here, it'll save that skill bar, and the same with the skill bar below. And then when you want to load it, if you change things and you want to go back, you can just click on this and it'll equip all of your gear and all of those skills in a jiffy. Over here, I've got a training skill bar. What I do, if there are certain skills that I'm trying to level up, I'll put them on here and save them. And then when I'm turning in a quest, I'll just quickly activate this skill bar, and then I get the XP for these skills, and then I'll switch back to my PvE one. So it's very handy. Now, there's one here that I should probably show you quickly called Harvest Map. I don't have it turned on at the moment, but it is very handy. I probably should turn it on, actually, so I can find all those lovely jewelry nodes. Just enable all these. I'm not sure how out of date it is, though. Reload my UI. Okay, so we've come out here into the world, And what harvest map does, if I collect this wormwood here, you'll see this icon popped up. So whenever you farm a crafting node, it'll save where the location was, and there'll be a little icon here. So you can see there's a clothing one up there, a couple more over there. So if you're farming mats, it's pretty handy, you know exactly where to go, but you do need to have found them once before for it to save the location. So yeah, I haven't had this turned on for a while, but it is pretty useful. Next, we've got Inventory Insight. So what this does, I can bring up a window here and I can search through my inventory. And not just the inventory on this character, I can search through my bank and all of my other characters as well, and my craft bag. It's very useful. So you've got filters here that you can choose. So if I'm just interested in weapons, I can do that. Armor, consumables, crafting, furniture, miscellaneous. And there's a text search down at the bottom here. So just say if I'm looking to see which Sororia items I've got, I can start typing that in. So you can see so far I've only got breeches and gloves. So you can type in whatever you want and it will bring that up. If I just want to search my bank, I can choose bank only. I can choose particular characters. So it just saves a lot of time when you're looking for stuff. Then we've got a really simple little add-on, but I like it. Item borders. So if I go into my inventory here, you can see on the left there's just a little box around each of my items showing me what level it is, whether it's gold, purple, green, blue, whatever. So it's just a really small add-on, but I like it. And I've got another add-on which I'm not using at the moment called Inventory Grid View. So what that does, instead of having a list like that, it's just a grid with little icons like you see on the left here, and it'll have the borders around those as well. The next one is law books. This one is very useful indeed. Let's bring up my map. I think I've got them all here. We'll go back to Malabal Tor. So you can see here on the map, if I zoom in a little bit, you can see it shows you the locations of all of the lore books. This is so handy because leveling Mage's Guild, as I'm sure you know if you've done it, is a massive grind. It's a huge pain in the ass, and this saves you so much time. Then we've got Lost Treasure. This is another pretty handy one. So I'm saying this about all of them. Like, the reason I use them is because they're handy, but whatever, leave me alone. Alright, so Lost Treasure. What this does, if I have a look in my inventory, I don't actually have a lot of treasure maps and stuff at the minute. I did most of them on this character. I've got a jewelry crafting survey. So, jewelry crafting survey, Shadowfen. Now, if we have a look at it, the jewelry crafting ones have got a verbal description. A lot of the time they'll just have a sketch for the treasure maps and so on. But what this add-on does, if we go back into the map and have a look at Shadowfen, it puts an X on the map. So again, it saves you a lot of time trying to find where things are. Okay, so then we've got LUI Extended. So this is a pretty big add-on and it's quite involved, so I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail. I'm sure there are other videos on YouTube that show you this mod in more detail, but I'm just going to give you a quick overview. So essentially it's a UI add-on. So if we go into settings and add-ons, LUI Extended, you can see I've got a ton of different options for how I want my UI to look. You can go into buffs and debuffs, choose where you want the windows to be. There's lots of text commands, which I don't remember most of these. I should try and use them more because it does save time. Yeah, so you can basically customize your UI to look however you want. Now, a lot of the time you'll see streamers and stuff and their UI looks different, like where you can see their health, stamina, and magicka bar. I've got mine set so it looks a bit more like the vanilla one, but it's in the middle in this kind of little pyramid sort of thing. So that's an option instead of, if you don't want the LUI extended different bars, you can have this instead. So it looks a bit closer to vanilla. And the buff tracker, I'll show you in a bit. I am using a different buff tracker as well, but on the right hand side here, these where it shows you my food, Major Prophecy, well, it tells me there as well, Stage 4 Vampirism, and The Apprentice. Like, these long buffs here show up on the side. That's from LUI Extended. And then I use a different buff tracker, which I'll show you in a sec, to show some of the shorter buffs. So I use kind of a combination of these things. But yeah, LUI Extended, you can customize your UI exactly how you want it, but I keep it quite basic. Okay, then we've got Master Merchant. This is another extremely popular add-on, so a lot of you have probably heard of it if you use add-ons yourself. This is excellent if you want to do a lot of trading. It basically is a way to let you know how much you should be charging for things or how much you should pay for things. But the thing about Master Merchant is the data it gathers is just from the guilds that you're in. So if you're not in a trading guild, it's not going to do you much good. If you're in a really small trading guild, not going to do you much good. But if you're in a couple of good active trading guilds, it's going to give you a pretty good idea about market prices. So if we go into my inventory, I've got my craft bag here. So if we have a look at Kuta, you can see if I hover over it, it brings up this little box down at the bottom that's not usually there. You can see price 1,278 sales over 31 days at an average of 2.6k. If you hold down the shift key, it shows me the last 10 days. So you can see the price has pretty much stayed the same for that. Other items, the price does fluctuate a lot more. Like a lot of the new Somerset stuff, you'll see the price started off ridiculously high and it's gradually coming down. So you want to check to make sure that your Master Merchant stays up to date, because you don't want it giving you old information. I should probably reset it because mine is a little bit old. I usually only look at the last kind of couple of weeks, like a month tops. And then if I go into my mail, you can also see it brings up this window. So it's got guild ranks. I haven't sold anything in this guild, so it's just got that. And then Harrods, this is a trading guild that I'm in. So it's early in the week, so I'm doing pretty good so far. Probably by the end of the week, I'll be ranked a lot lower. But I'm already over the minimum limit. So it'll show you how much I've made in sales so far this week. That's just since yesterday. What day is it? Since Sunday night. Whenever it resets. But yeah, so you can see so far I've made 116k. It's got a little stat window down here you can look at. It shows you the last thing I sold. Item info, it gives you a list of everything that I've sold recently. But yeah, Master Merchant, if you want to do some trading, get it. Next up, we've got Raid Notifier. Now, this I'm still kind of learning about, actually. I just downloaded it quite recently. I've mentioned before I don't do a huge amount of trials and stuff, but it's something that I'm trying to get into a bit more. So Raid Notifier, what it does, I'll go into settings. Raid Notifier, there we go. So essentially it just gives you notifications when you're in a raid. So just to make sure if there's a lot of mechanics to worry about, it'll tell you when something's happening that you need to be aware of. There's a lot of settings here where you can customize what notifications you get. There are individual settings for each trial. So you can see, like, if we have a look at more of Lorcage, You can choose particular events that you want to be notified about and turn those on or off. You can set a reminder to let you know when your food's going to run out. It can turn off your pets during trials, like your non-combat pets. Turn off assistance automatically. But yeah, so it's really useful. I'm still kind of learning more about it. I've just started using it, but it seems pretty good to me. Next up, we've got another small kind of quality of life add-on. This is Research Assistant. So if I go into my inventory, you can see here I've got this pewter ring with the triune trait. I'm going to research that next once my current one's done. And if you have a look on the right here, you can see there's this little magnifying glass and a red box that indicates it's an item I can research. If I have two items with the same trait, one of them will be yellow. I think it's whichever one is the lower level will be yellow instead, or maybe it's whichever one's the higher level. But yeah, like one of them will be yellow, and you can choose which one you want to research. Also, on the left here though, you can see there's this red exclamation mark. I think that's from Craft Store. Which basically does the same thing. But what I've found is sometimes the little icon doesn't appear, even if it's an item I can research. So I use them both because why not? Then we've got Srendar, which is a buff tracker. Now this is a pretty big one again, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. If I go into my settings, I can customize it. You can customize the shit out of this if you like. So yeah, it basically tracks all your buffs and debuffs. You can choose which ones you want it to track. You can choose where they're displayed. Tons of options, so I'm not going to go through all of it. But basically, you can see down next to my health bar, you can see Major Prophecy there. So that's one of the buffs it's tracking. I don't have it tracking the long buffs. As I mentioned, I've got those over on the right here. LUI Extended is doing that. And I don't have it tracking a lot of stuff, but if you can see, just say if I pop my shield here, you can see Harness Magicka popped up there. I think I've got it for some ground AoEs. If I put my blockade down, that appears just on the left of my character there. So I can see when they're going to run out. Now if you look down at my ability bar, you can see they've got numbers there counting down. That's from LUI Extended, I think, the countdown timer. So yeah, there's a couple of places I can look to keep track of when I need to reapply those dots. And my shield. I think, what else have I got on here? If I hit my target skeleton. Yeah, you can see my Burning Spell we've procced there. So it keeps track of that as well. But yeah, like I say, it's very customizable. Oh, and a scoria for good measure. So yeah, it's very customizable. You can choose exactly which buffs and debuffs you want it to track. You can choose where you want them on the screen. Very handy indeed. Next on the list, we've got Sky Shards. This is a really simple add-on, but it's so unbelievably useful. It's a huge quality of life improvement. So what it does, you can probably guess if you're not aware already. I think almost everyone who uses add-ons uses this. If we go back to Malabal Tor, well, no, I don't want to travel there. If we go back to Malabal Tor, you can see I have I got any of the Sky Shards there? Don't think I have, I should do that. But it shows me exactly where on the map the Sky Shards are. So I don't have to go through the clues and try and find them myself. Now, if you're new to the game, maybe you want to do that. Maybe you want to do it the old-fashioned way and just go by the clues. That is perfectly fine. But if you're leveling up multiple characters and you just need to get skill points, you don't need that kind of hassle really. So that is why I use Sky Shards. Then we have Wicked Full Immersion. Now, all I use this for is just to resize my compass. But it does give you lots of other options. Again, it's a UI add-on. So you can see here there's quite a few different options that you can choose from. But again, all I really use it for is just to make my compass a little bit smaller, because I'm that persnickety. And finally, Wicked Toolbar. Now, what this does, you can see it at the very top of my screen. It just gives me a bunch of information. It tells me the time, my FPS, my latency, where I am, my CP. Got a little bar here that shows me my progress towards the next champion point, how full my bag is, how many soul gems I've got, empty and filled, my gold, and my alliance points. Don't have a lot of those at the minute. Now, LUI Extended does have a little window that you can enable that will show you all of this information. I think you just toggle it on or off and you can choose what you want to be in that window. You might not want all of this information, so you can choose what you want. But I prefer to just use this because it's really small and unobtrusive, and the information is just there at a glance without having to toggle it on or off. So there we go, those are the add-ons I'm currently using. It is subject to change. I do enable and disable add-ons depending on what I'm doing. I do like to try new ones out fairly regularly. So I'm not saying this is the best setup, but it works for me at this time. Now, there are lots of other really great add-ons that you can try out, so I'd encourage you to get Minion and browse through the add-ons on there and see what appeals to you. You can browse by category, you can just see whatever the most popular ones are. There's loads of good stuff out there, so definitely check some of the other add-ons out. Alright, that about wraps it up, so please give the video a like if you liked it and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I stream ESO fairly regularly over on Twitch, so do follow me over there if you're interested in that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.